In this new episode of the Digital Tourism Show, we have the pleasure of speaking with Neil Lapping from Max Adventure. Now, Neil has grown his business from the back of an IKEA desk in his bedroom to now employing 90 staff across 3 different destinations around the world. Now, Neil will be discussing how he has grown his business over the last 10 years, but also gives some startling revelations about how Brexit has affected his business, including this.
Yeah, in the last 2 months, it's cost us 1.5 million quid of sales.
Wow.
In 2 months.
This is not a video you want to miss.
Are we?
I'm good. Before you think I'm a reprobate, it's non-alcoholic beer. So it's like drinking water, just with more calories.
Oh, but you supplied the beer, and it's in your offices. I think it's allowed.
That's all right.
Yeah, that's allowed. So, no, thank you very much for doing this. I really do appreciate it. I've known Neil for, 10 years? Probably, I think we were one of our very first clients, I think, when you came into our tiny little room that we had.
You and Tom you were like in the top floor of some chambers, which is like hot as hell in summer.
Yeah.
And there were the 2 of you like sitting opposite each other, like, and I think it was like me and my dog who came in to kind of, you were the first professionally built website. Before that, one of my intros when I kind of induct new employees is showing like way back when, and oh my God, I mean, the first like website was just beyond belief bad. It was built at my, I keep getting these talks called from the kitchen table. I lived in a one bedroom flat in Scotstoun. If anyone knows 1-bedroom flats in Scotstoun, there's not space for a kitchen table. There was, like, I was so poor at the time, I didn't even have a car. And so I'd been to IKEA on the bus to buy a desk. Okay, so it was fine on the way there, and you had to change in Partick at the station, and it was fine. But on the way home, like loading, I got a certain look from the bus driver getting on the bus outside IKEA, you know where Dobie's is now, and like leveraging this like desk back on the IKEA. I think I'm sure it happens, but changing for someone who just arrived in Glasgow, changing buses in Partick at Partick subway station was an interesting experience. So yeah, it was good. And built my own website, and then you guys, I can't remember, maybe 3 or 4 years in. Mm-hmm. So it's probably longer, about 10 years, probably a bit longer. So I don't know, how long have you been in business?
11 years, so it's around about that sort of time. Yeah.
2 weeks after you started.
2 weeks after we started, quite much, yeah. And to be honest, Neil was the one that got us into tourism, so I have to thank you for that. So there we go. So no, I appreciate you doing this. So my first question is literally going to be, what was the catalyst for starting Max Adventure? What got you into this industry in the first place?
You want the long or the short answer?
We've got 30 minutes. So
we've got 30 minutes? Oh, bloody hell.
Not for that one question, man.
So it was all carefully planned. It was like me and Elon Musk. I woke up and I was like, I'm going to go and take people around trips in Scotland. It was total coincidence. So as you can hear from my broad Glasgow accent, I grew up just across the road in this lovely place called Cape Town, South Africa. And I studied business in Cape Town, and let's just say that I spent far more time on Clifton Fourth Beach than I did anywhere near a lecture theatre. Surprise, surprise, Morgan Stanley weren't like lining up to give me a job when I finished. And I ended up in London. Long story short, mother bought me a one-way ticket to London and said, bugger off. And so I turned up in London, and I lasted 3 months as an assistant accountant, and almost shot myself. I still, every time I go near the photocopiers, I get slightly scared, and I break out in sweat. And I saw this job advertised as a sailing instructor in the Mediterranean, and I thought, I can do that. Never taught anyone to sail in my life. Had done a lot of sailing, and I blagged it. I bought a book, and taught myself how to sail dinghies again, and that's pretty much the story of Max Adventures, blagging it. But anyway, I did 4 years of working for a UK tour operator called Mark Warner. They run summer beach holidays for families and winter ski trips, and used to go back to Cape Town to go windsurfing and kite surfing in the winters, and then back to a succession of horrible jobs. And I did that for 4 years, and eventually I decided I was too old for it. I don't know why. But, I think my liver was giving up at the age of 27. And I ended up, and then I got snared by a Scottish woman who dragged me back to Ullapool and said, come to the Highlands of Scotland and it'll be lovely. And I turned up in early November in Scotland. And, you know, I'd been in Greece for 6 months, 7 months at that stage. It hadn't rained. Like, I don't think I'd seen a cloud. And we drove up, and I crossed into the Scotland, and it was filled with water, and it was beautiful, and it was turning brown at that time of year. But I was just blown away. My great-grandfather actually grew up in Govan. Surprise, surprise. I'd gone to a Scottish school, worn the kilt, all this kind of stuff. But anyway, and I was blown away by the landscape, people. I'd lived in the south of England a lot. You know, I think we have this multi-layered destination in Scotland. It's not just the people, it's not just the scenery, it's the culture and the story and like a good film. It all weaves together and it catches people like me and beautiful women, and it catches you. And then suddenly you're like, oh bugger, I live here and it rains all the time. So I ended up in Ullapool and went traveling. Yeah, you know, you're a foreigner, you know what I'm talking about. And so I ended up in Scotland, did a year's traveling in Australia and New Zealand, went back into Ullapool completely broke. I worked in the Seaforth Inn during the night and the outdoor shop during the day to try and pay back. I think I had like a 10 grand credit card bill at that stage from traveling in Australia and New Zealand. And I thought it'd be a great idea to set, I think what struck me is we have this great destination, and, it really struck me during Karen's presentation where we market ourselves as an outdoor destination, but the vast majority of people see the Highlands through the window, the rain-covered window of a tour bus or a hire car. And I'd had this great experience. I'd been sailing in Scotland, hiking, loads of out climbing, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, it's amazing. And then I had the same experience in New Zealand, traveling there. And I was like, wow, that's what made it special with New Zealand. And I think, as someone alluded to, New Zealand really connects you super well. Every hotel you stay in, you walk in the door, they say, okay, what activity am I booking for you tomorrow? And you go like, well, I'll go canoeing or whitewater rock. And you're like, oh. And they had this awesome time. So, and that's why I had a 10 grand credit card bill, because I'd said yes to everything. So I was like, well, I have no money, no experience. Let's set up. And I think also, at the time I was 27, and I was looking at the Shearings holiday buses, or the things were stopping in the car park, and right behind them was stopping the backpacker-aimed tour bus. And I was like, and they were having the same experience, which could have been so much richer. So I had this idea. I was like, oh, they can do it in New Zealand. They can do it in Australia. Why is no one doing it in Scotland? With beautiful naivety, I was like, this is going to be so easy. Built my own website. By this time, I'd moved to Glasgow because the beautiful woman in Ullapool didn't like me anymore. So I'm sure you can understand why. But anyway, so Glasgow women were more kind of, tuned to my, my sense of humor. And so I ended up in Scotland, in Glasgow, and I had this idea, and I literally started with this idea. We're going to run guided trips on the West Highland Way, Great Glen Way, and some weekend trips into the Highlands. And it was really driven, and it still is. It's driven by people, connecting people with authentic, interesting, like transformative experiences. If you climb Ben Nevis and you've never been up a mountain, and it's middle of February and it's blowing a gale and it's minus 30, that moment will stick with you. That is what you remember. And it's the same, when we're taking people, walking the 700 kilometers of the Camino de Santiago or things like that. It's just to connect people, because as soon as you do that, the destination comes alive for people. People are like, oh, wow, this is what I'm here for. This is what life's about. And it doesn't have to be active-based. It could be a great meal, a great service experience, a really authentic host in a small B&B or inn. That's the piece, the kind of little secret ingredient, that thing. And I was, dumb luck. The first trip we did was the West Highland Way, which is one of the best walks in the world. So, there was certainly an element of luck. But that's where the idea came from, and it's very much still a driving thing. So I told you I could talk, Chris.
Yeah. Oh, hey, I had Alex Bainbridge last time, so we know what it is. So, as I alluded to earlier, you've grown from behind your little IKEA desk all the way to now in this amazing office. I'm still envious about this office, with employing 90 people, and you've done that in a relatively short space of time in terms of business sort of time. What would you say was the key drivers to that success? Now, what, in terms of marketing, what do you think helped to build your business that quickly?
It's my personality. You see, that's why I drink non-alcoholic beer. Okay, so in all seriousness, I started my business in 2003 when digital marketing was just coming out. So previously, to get as a tour operator, you need to publish a brochure, put an ad in the back of the Sunday Times, someone phoned up, you sent them the brochure, massive high infrastructure. Whereas I could come in, buy a copy of Dreamweaver, make a website, and could market to the same people. So, we are our growth. So Chris alluded to our growth. To give you an idea in terms of numbers, 6 years ago we were doing 5,000 customers. This year we'll do about 40,000 customers, most of them on 10 days. So that's like 400,000 bed nights a year. To give you an idea of the kind of scale of the business. We have customers from about 50 countries, our main markets being the UK, the States, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. But lots of things. So at the heart of that kind of rapid growth, wouldn't exist without digital marketing. And I'll stroke your ego, Chris. There was that first website you made for us. You're not in that business anymore, so everyone else has missed that boat. So it's there are kind of a couple of things. To me, digital marketing is quite easy. The first is you've got to get people onto your site. Okay, so how do we do that? And we still spend a vast amount of money on Google AdWords. So that's still our predominant route to market is paid search. And why is paid search so powerful? Because at the exact moment someone stumbles out of the Ben Nevis Inn round the corner with their mates and said, we've got to do something. There's, boys, we've got to do something. They type it into their phone, and they want, let's do the West Tunnel It'll be a great idea, fantastic. We're from Glasgow, we'll do it in 4 days, Anyone less than that is a wuss. Right, West Tunnel 4 days. At that exact moment when they're half cut, they've drunk half of, the Brookladder stock of Ben Nevis Inn, we can advertise to them at that exact moment. And that's where still, I can't remember the exact figures right now, I don't deal with it anymore, but a vast amount of our traffic comes from in terms of getting people to our website. And I guess we recently employed an in-house paid search person, and he had never seen an AdWords account older than ours. Okay, who does your paid search in here? So who was your paid search guy? He's left, okay. But I mean, he literally walked in, he's like, I've never seen a paid search history that went back to 2003. So, for anyone building a tourist business, the first is getting people to your site. So paid search is still our predominant thing. There's organic, there's content, there's all the other layers, but paid search, if we did nothing else, would just be paid. So the easy part is getting them to your site. The second part is fundamentally around building trust. So for me, traditionally, he was talking about taking everyone to McDonald's. That McDonald's relies on that brand, whereas in a digital space, you've got to create trust other ways because it's so easy to create a website. So the predominant way we created trust early on was being completely transparent. So we still have our entire team on the website. We still have, our contact details, my name, people can email me if they want. But so we did very transparent and people behind the brand. The second is we shared loads of information. So one of the small things we did is we sell packages. The most expensive part of the package is hotels. And most people and tour operators are like, we're not going to put the hotel on the website. I'm like, well, what are you selling then? You've got to be transparent. That's what you're getting for your money. I'm not going to book something if I don't know where I'm blimmin' staying. And all the guys were like, you can't put the hotel on. Guys will just book it direct. Yeah, of course people will book it direct. But, if we if 90% book direct and 10% book with us, happy days. So we were very transparent. We added loads of content. So that might have been hotels, but we have thousands of blog content, pieces now across a wide range. And normally when we launch a product, that's the most difficult thing, is creating the content around it that builds credibility. And the most, the one thing that I did that changed more than anything else is we started using the reviews on the website. In 2009, so 10 years ago, we invested in a platform. It's changed its name multiple times. Now it's called Power Reviews. But we use FIFO because the second most searched kind of term after our name, which is Max Adventure, is Max Adventure Reviews. So the first thing, someone from California or finds us. They want to walk to West End, want to walk across Scotland. The first thing they do, they look nice. The second thing they do is Google Max Adventure Reviews. And we own that experience. So on the product level, we have 5,000 or 6,000 reviews built over 10 years. Our competitors, we sell the West End Away. And I think at last count, we have close to 900 individual trip reviews on that thing. Average, 850, almost 95% say it was well organized and it was great fun and thing. Lots of people also say it was exhausting, but hey ho, you signed up for it. But it's very transparent, and that immediately increased our conversion rate by 60%. So, and we then have, we own the Facebook reviews, we have FIFO, we respond to. So we've got these thousands. So basically, if you search on Max Adventure Reviews, the whole first page essentially is we own. Yes, and they are negative ones, and they are problems and issues and stuff like that. But we responded to them. Instead of going off to I'm trying to book a holiday at the moment, okay? And there were these companies, big companies, and they had 0 reviews. So I booked with the people who had like 500 on Trustpilot, the same service. Yeah. So that was so reviews was a big thing, building trust. And then the beauty of it, and this is why it's so easy, is as soon as you increase your conversion rate, so if you increase, of the by 50%, so 50% more people booked with us, it means that the money you're bidding for the paid search is more, your cost per acquisition goes down by 50%. So then you can afford to bid more than all your competitors because you're converting them better. Then you have more customers who leave more reviews and happy days, and suddenly you just have this kind of virtuous circle that makes a huge difference. So that's the core of what we do. The other thing we've done is we constantly increase our product range. So we started off with 3 trips in Scotland. I wish we only had 450 trips. We have about 550, wow. But we actually have about 750 variations. Oof. So you can walk the West Highland Way in 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. You can walk the best of Mont Blanc. So there's... we also tap into it's not just us. We're riding a wave. People are moving towards experiential tourism, active tourism, but most importantly in our sector, which is active tourism, they're looking to do it independently, whereas 15 years ago you did it in a group. If you wanted to hike Tour de Mont Blanc, you signed up for a group. There were 15 of you around the table. There's always one. There's always one, and you're spending your holiday with him. So it's generally a bloke, isn't it? Yeah. So, and so, you want to go walking with your own mates. You want to go with the people you like, and so that's one of the key things we tapped into this trend. Low cost flights, customization, any trip we can change. So. That's the kind of the product side of things, growing the product range. And then obviously, the other thing that I would say is if anyone sells to an international market, you really need to look at the customers are vastly different. So we have more customers from the US and Canada than we do from the UK. Okay, so, and most of them are not going to Scotland, they're going to Italy and stuff like that. So you have to think, just the small things that, Chris and his agency helped with was things like we started selling in US dollars immediately, much easier. We had a US phone number. Jeff, you asked me how do we deal with them. We now have an office in Colorado. So, the guys are, yes, everyone's left here, but I have a sales team working in Boulder who are speaking to our customers. So you've got to, if you're serious about building a business, you've got to think of just the small things. Sell in US dollars, it's super easy now, or Canadian or Australian, wherever your market is, or things like that. So there was those kind of things of thinking, we've got this website, let's build trust. As soon as I go and land on a website and they expect me to pay in euros, the trust comes down. So that's the kind of secret sauce. So off we all go, hey?
Yeah. Is that why you expanded internationally? Was it just purely for growth of the business? No, is that one of the reasons why you did it? No, and if there was, what was the sort of challenges that you had with that and the benefits that came with it?
So there's three main reasons. So our first business we opened was in Germany in 2015, so 3.5 years ago. And we started with 2 people in a co-working space. We now have a team of 20, and it turns over about 5 million this year from, again, a kitchen table. It was Alex's kitchen table this time, but we sat in a flat and we kind of did that. So there are 3 main reasons we expand internationally. The first is to serve our customers better, because my German's pretty bad. You don't want to have me on the phone selling you a holiday. And to be closer, to really understand the customer. So we don't sell the same trip to every market. So for example, the trips we sell to the UK and the German market are quite different, and they're very different to the US market. So to serve the customer better and be closer to them and understand them, and also to get our direct distribution. So we used to sell through tour operators a lot. The problem is, we'd have these like 150 trips in Scotland, and we'd have a tour operator in Germany, and they'd say, oh, we'll take 2. And I was like, we've got these other, 20 great trips. No, we'll take 2. And that we couldn't, so we couldn't get any more penetration. They were sending us some business. So it's increased distribution. And then also to think about, to control our supply chain. So our business in Germany develops and builds a lot of our trips and operates a lot of our trips in Germany, Austria, that part of the world. So instead of having to, we do book a lot in France and stuff like that from here, but instead of having to kind of book through an agent, you add another layer of cost. I think so. We develop and own our own IP and product. So be close to the customer thing, and it's a natural hedge from the business because German sales are doing fine now, so that's good. Things like the US customers, we work on much better margins for US customers than we do for UK customers, and there's less risk. Sometimes when the UK does badly, the US does really well, and things. So it was kind of to de-risk the business a bit, and and also I'm a sucker for punishment. I'd forgotten, after I started the German business 12 years after I started Max, and I'm sure some of you have recently started businesses, and Jesus, it's hard work. I mean, it's just like, yes, it's like, it is such hard work. Even if you've done it before and stuff like that, it's like every little detail of like, literally just finding space, or, the tax stuff and all the admin, and you kind of forget how hard it is. But it's also, to be honest, like when Max stops growing and it's just like doing the same thing, I'll just be on my yacht in the Caribbean. I have no interest in sitting there and going like, okay, can we squeeze another 1% out of that or 1% out of that? To me, like what's interesting is starting and growing businesses, building teams. It's really, it gives me a huge amount of satisfaction. When I walk into a team in Colorado that didn't exist 18 months ago, and now they're 20 people who are full of beans, have funny names, have beards, wear baseball caps the whole time, so it's like, so I'm like, okay, I'm learning again, and I start slipping up and start things like, I'm just reaching out to you, Chris, and my wife goes like, what? don't speak to me like that. But, so I think it's, that's what I really enjoy, is starting and growing businesses. When that stops, as I say, book me the flight to Antigua.
So it's a lot like having kids. You have the first one, and a couple of months later, you think that wasn't that bad, and then you have the next one, you go, why the hell did I do that? So it's good that you do the international side of things, and that's going to bring me on to my next question. And I don't want to use the B word it's going about just now, but with the current political climate, is that going to affect your business in any? Do you see any sort of blockages in terms of the businesses that are doing on the business?
Yeah, in the last 2 months, it's cost us 1.5 million quid of sales.
Wow!
In 2 months, that's
wow.
We were up 30% year on year to the end of the last 4 months of the last 4 months of 2018. We were up 30% year on year, no problem. The first week of January is fantastic. Then Teresa, and her mates started playing games, and like there was that big Commons defeat. Suddenly it was uncertain. The Americans also started having their government shutdown, and it just like bookings just went and just like went back to last year. So we're flat on what we were last year. We were the same. February started off really good as everything went quiet. But like there's a travel story every single day in the paper. Every single day. I mean, on the plus side for you guys who only work in Scotland, it's a pretty good time. Scottish bookings and UK bookings are pretty strong. We're still seeing like really strong, like say Germany into Scotland. The US is trading well because they're predominantly going into Europe and the UK. They're not that worried about it, either way. But it's Brits going to Europe. It's just like, we literally have emails every day saying, I'm not booking this until I know some clarity. Great, looks fantastic, I won't book it.
Yeah. So more people are booking basically in Scotland, maybe.
Or just delaying, just buggering around.
Because nobody knows what's happening with the flights in case they book something up and then all of a sudden nobody can fly out, that type of thing.
Yeah. So it's having, and up until like 6 weeks ago, I was like, it's no worries, not really affecting us. We were like showing the consistent growth curve, and then suddenly, as it kind of dawned, for tour operators, our big booking month really is January. The web traffic goes through the roof on the 26th of December. And so this is when suddenly I think people were looking at it. And then day after day, from reputable, the Sunday Times, this, ABTA's having to put out these stories. Don't worry, you won't need a visa. All that kind of stuff. So, again, and it's this, for us, it's this natural hedge. Our German business is going very, very well. But, it's not that strong into the UK. So, I think, and that's partly why I have businesses in the 3 bases, is there a bit of a hedge. So, yes, we're down in the UK, but we're pretty strong in the US, we're pretty strong in Germany, our other destinations are good. People staying in the UK is pretty strong. So, we'll be fine, but what it is it's just stopping us. Like, we've got quite a lot of hires planned. So we were looking to add another 10 people to our business in the next few months, and we're just not hiring. So I mean, it's like first world problems. Yeah. I haven't replaced my PA. I mean, it's like, so that's why I forgot to tell the cleaner you guys are coming today. So, but it is, because it just means we also haven't hired a, trip developer, this and that, the next thing. So we just kind of, like big IT projects, we just kind of wait a little bit and we see how it goes. And I think, that has a knock-on effect, because the trip we wanted, to do in Argyll, maybe we won't do this year. So I think it's a bit of, and I think it's interesting, but I'm sure the sun will come up on the 30th of March, but I'll be in Colorado. I'm not joking. It's I think very much of like, you can only control your own business and your own business success. I think we'll get there in the end, but I think for all of us who in large discretionary kind of purchases. So if you look at houses are not so discretionary, new cars. But like a holiday is normally the biggest single expenditure that people make in a year. So they're quite nervous about kind of spending that money. We're definitely feeling that. And there's quite a lot in the kind of travel and tour operating press. It's a bit thing. seems to be quite a lot of airlines going bust recently. I don't know. So I don't know. It's probably the most challenging kind of period for us at the moment. I think we'll get there. We just kind of are delaying, kind of thing, delaying where we invest, but it's.
You're not the only one. I'm hearing that from a few other businesses as well. So everybody's just hedging their bets, as you say. So at the moment, I really want to get the audience involved. So I'm going to ask you one more question before I hand it over. If you had to give one piece of advice about growing your business internationally, what would it be?
I really enjoy airports. Airports are good. Really like know exactly which sandwich bar to go that you like in Schiphol, and what their baguette costs and things like that. I think it's understand your customer, in all seriousness. So I spent about 5 or 6 years guiding customers from all over the world, and I spent a huge as you can see, I'm quite good at talking. And I spent a huge amount of time talking to customers. So just kind of understanding, what, was Italy, was walking in Tuscany interesting to them? What was important? You check into the hotel and, the Americans want Wi-Fi, and they're all kind of, so it's kind of really understanding your customer and not underestimating how much time, money, and effort it takes. It's a huge, it's hard work, but I wouldn't do it any. It's like children. Well, hard work, but I wouldn't do it any other way.
There's a misconception, and I've spoken to businesses in the past when as soon as they add a booking engine to their website, they suddenly think they're going to get lots of bookings. It's just not the case. They have to, as you say, work hard at it, do the Google AdWords, everything else.
Yeah,
with content.
It works to a little. You will get a hit. If you're gonna add some content to translate your site, you will get a bit of a pop, but you won't really. You'll skim. Yeah. So, but it's not the end of the world. You'll grow, but not.
Well, that was a good thing about your business is the fact that 10 years ago, so when we first met, you were one of the very first companies out there to offer online booking. And we had this conversation with Alex and Peter Simon in the last Travel Massive that businesses today in Scotland, especially in Scotland, are still not got bookings systems on their websites, and that's 10 years on. So the fact that Neil did that so long ago, if other businesses did that long ago, they could have had a business as good as Max Adventure, personally, I think. So you were ahead of the curve.
The only problem is we actually have because we customize more and more, our percentage of online bookings is actually going down. Because, it's like, it's a higher, like selling the West End away is easy to buy. It's quick, it's a package of standard. Selling a customized 3-week walking trip around Italy is much more involved. So. But online bookings certainly cool. In addition.
I'm going to ask Jess to run around with the mic. If you want to raise your hand if you have any questions for Neil. There's one over there. Thank you very much.
I know I've been talking for a while, so I will keep my answers short now.
Neil, you mentioned something that's really relevant to our company and what we've been discussing. And it's basically how you deal with inquiries, international inquiries, and you mentioned having an American number. Yeah, when you're a small business, you cannot have like a round-the-clock, follow the sun type environment or around-the-clock presence in your office. Yeah, so especially the American market, because they have such high expectations that. They pick up the phone and someone's there, or they send an email and someone's there. So when you set up your first American number, I'm assuming you had no American presence. It was really just routing, back to the UK. How did you handle those inquiries, whether they were like calls or whether they were email? Obviously emails are fine. We can all put, an announcement. But in terms of your calls, how did you manage that expectation from an international client that you couldn't fulfill at that time?
I think it's different. They know they're not dealing with a multinational. And that's why I'm saying about being transparent. If you are 10 people in the office, have a picture of you all. And, suddenly they go like, oh, there's this wonderful Scottish accent on the answering machine that says, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And they're sold already, like me and my girlfriend in Liverpool. So, I think, be honest. It's just like, we used to just say, after I saw this, that, the next thing, we'll call you back tomorrow. And it wasn't my sultry tones on the phone. So it was just being honest, and people were fine with that because there are more and more people are much more willing to, book directly with local operators because there's that level of trust. And if you've built that trust where you've got the reviews or, whether you create TripAdvisor reviews or whatever, you can build that trust. They trust you, they know who you are. Oh, great, they're dealing with a local, authentic person instead of a travel agent in, Tennessee who has no idea about what they should be doing in the west coast of Scotland. So they're willing to compromise if you've built that trust and relationship through your marketing or, through who you are. I think we should be proud of who we are. We're not trying to be, multinational faceless corporations. So that's how we did it. And then as we've been selling a lot to the US for years. We only opened the office 18 months ago. They only started taking bookings less than 18 months ago. So, it didn't hold us back for a long time. People love dealing with, Brand Scotland is very strong. People like dealing with us. So,
Thank you.
Any more questions? We got a question in the front. Move the mic. Thank you.
Hi, Neil. My name is Augusta. I'm coming from Rochester in Kent. I know you've had your challenges in terms of cost and in terms of losing money. But I want you to tell me how your creative skills have been in terms of successful adventure in your business.
creative skills and finding creative solutions to things.
Creative solutions in a way, yes.
Yeah, I think it's one of my, it's probably one of my absolute strengths is that I think, to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to be very self-starting and learn quickly and stuff like that. And I just didn't have any, when I started, I didn't have any money. So it's kind of, that ethos kind of got baked into the culture of the business. I still, we're still very cost conscious, of just like, is there a better, cheaper, faster way of doing this? Because it's very easy to get sucked into, like I hate consultants, okay? Like, so people, sorry, I'm sure there's some very good consultants if they're in the room. But I think it's all too easy for people to go, come in and tell me what I should do. Whereas most of us know what to do. The difficult thing is doing it. And I think, there are some consultants who can deliver very well. And I think if you can build that knowledge the problem is you then lose that knowledge outside your business as soon as they go on to the next project. So you've just got to hire the next guy. So what are some examples? Built my own website, first time. This office space, was done. So there's some guys who are they saw our office and they engaged the same designers to do their office, which is 1 floor up and 2/3 of the size, and they spent 2.5 times as much money on the same. You could walk into the both, you would think it was the same company. So I think it's just, I'm always looking for, how could we do it more effectively? Because to me, that's delivering value to the customer and adding. So it means that I'm not having to charge. I can be, our pricing strategy when we first started was quite aggressive. It came in to be cheaper than everyone else. So we had to kind of drive that by finding, not taking away from the quality of the accommodation or the service or thing. We had to kind of take it away from that middle bit. So what other creative stuff? We don't use recruitment consultants. It's just all these little small things. We'd rather build our own section on our website, which is careers-based. So there's a few of the examples, but does that answer your question?
Yes, and just one more. Have you done any successful adventure that that you have a buzz to it, that this is really successful? And can you name a country or anything?
My favorite adventure?
Yes.
Favorite trip? I've done a lot.
You must have a favorite.
My favorite trip in the world is probably the Tour de Mont Blanc in the walk around Mont Blanc in France, Switzerland, in Italy. I just think it combines. it combines, again, some multi-layered narrative. So you've got these wonderful mountain huts. You've got the kind of mountain life. You've got fantastic scenery. You've got mountain food. You've got the buzz of Chamonix, of everyone going off. You know, I did it with good friends and stuff like that. So, yeah, Tour de Mont Blanc. I also know the top of Ben Nevis very well. So 135, 130 times and counting. So, you know, I know the west of Scotland really well. And I live on the West Highland Way. And, you know, I probably bike or walk on it, you know, once a week. So, you know, the Scotland is still where the heart of our business was. You know, I still love it. I'm going hiking next weekend. You know, so it is. It's good.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Anyone else got a question? No? Well, thank you so much for your time. I don't know about you guys, but I found that fascinating. I think what you've done over the last 10 years is phenomenal, to be honest, and it's one of the reasons why I asked you to talk. So can everyone please give a thank you to you?